Well, I suppose it's like a skateboard. If you're not scuffing it up, you're not really skating.
Nerd alert! Nerd alert!
Hey everybody, it's Damien from DSLRnerd.com. I want to show you that you can make a studio pretty much anywhere. I happen to have mine in my apartment basement in Chicago, Illinois. Over here is where my landlord keeps his stuff. Over here is where my neighbor keeps their stuff. And this is my studio. We live above here, so with the permission of my neighbors over here, I've put up the muslin cloth and an old sheet basically, because it's pretty cold down here in this basement. It is in the middle of winter in Chicago. So if you open up this little sheet here, then there is my little studio, kind of back in this little alcove of this room. And then I put up these sheets to sort of keep the heat in. As you can see over here, I've got a little space heater. It's going now. I'm sure you're picking up nice little output from that space heater, but that's kind of my heat down here. I've got my table where I do my reviews. I've got Cowboy Studio softboxes there, and there. Decent starter set for only 150 bucks, I guess. But they're not super bright, but they're good to start with. Each one of these softboxes just has 5 of those CF bulbs, and you can turn them on one at a time. But even with 5 of those things, this guy's not really the brightest. But you know, it's a cheap starter set and they're decent. So I'm going to be setting up and shooting some wine bottles this weekend. I just finished a wine website for a client of mine, so now I need to shoot the bottles. This is not their brand. I've just basically pulled this out of the fridge to do some test setups, and I'm drinking the rest of what's in there. Got this camera in the corner somewhere that I can see everything, although it's pretty hard in this small space to shoot, and it's pretty small space to film. But it's all I've got, and it's all I really need. So here's the plan. I've got a backdrop up there. I'm going to set this up basically back toward that muslin cloth to put some lights around the wine bottle to shoot. So I'll see if I can kind of get me working in here. Kind of lock you down there and see if I can capture some of me setting up. I have such a small studio space down here. It's really quite amusing. I'm 6'2". For me to sort of climb around and make the best of the space that I have down here, but you know, you have to start somewhere. So you can see I've got this backdrop nice and low for this table. Gonna get some paper on that pretty soon. It's about $40 for a 5-foot by 24-yard roll of white paper or colored paper that you can use for a backdrop. Paper's probably better than back behind me. You see that I've got a muslin backdrop which always has wrinkles in it. The idea with the muslins is wrinkles is probably better than folds, so if you put the muslin back far enough and shoot it and saturate enough light on it that you won't see the wrinkles when you shoot. But for tabletop though, I'm gonna need a white seamless paper that has no wrinkles in it whatsoever. I guess because I want to get my lights as close to the sides of the product. So here's your wine bottle here. Your softbox is going to be on either side of it. I'm going to move the table so it's skinnier this way so I can put the 2 softboxes next to my product. Now we have our second softbox in place. And we'll put our test subject in the space. As I said, I'm shooting on white. I'm waiting for some white seamless to come in from Amazon. These metal clips are really nice and cheap for clipping up things. They're a little rough on muslin cloths though, so be careful of that. I have this cloth that's not really for photography. It's just sort of something that was hanging up as a divider I once needed it for. It's got this seam in the center, which is no good, but anyway, it's just something to start with to get the setup going. Alright, so I've got softbox number 1 right there and softbox number 2 right there at the moment. I have this little drop cloth which I'm not planning on using for the shoot, and I'll do a few test shots and we'll see what happens. So I'm down here shooting a 5D Mark III. My good Manfrotto photo video head is at Manfrotto Repair right now. Yes, it's true. It's getting looked at. It was wobbling. I'll show you guys a video at some point, maybe. Let me get mine back first. But sitting on my 0.55 prop legs is just a little like $15 ball head. Not very fancy one, but it's certainly doing the trick. I'm working with 2 soft boxes by Cowboy Studio. As you can see, I've just got a cloth backdrop and the bottle sitting on a piece of foam core. So there's the 5D Mark III on with the battery grip. That's not the Canon battery grip. I don't buy Canon battery grips. They're like twice the price. I'll have to do a review on this one sometime. The joystick isn't as nice as the 5D Mark III. So if you get the Canon one, I imagine you get the exact same joystick, only repeated over here. But it isn't as nice. I mean, this is kind of a little more of a rubbery feel, and this has a little more of a plasticky feel. So cheap ball head, like $15 ball head, until I get my other Manfrotto head. Doing a series of one light from the side and one light from the other side. I know I'm getting probably a bit hot of a shadow. I don't happen to have any vellum or tissue paper, which is what you can hang in between your softbox and your glass bottle to soften the lights a bit. I do have something that came with these that goes on the inside that I took out. It might dull the light a bit, but I'm just gonna dull it in Photoshop. Shh, don't tell anybody. Shooting at 4.0 f at 320 ISO and on 250 shutter speed for the moment. What I'm doing is bracketing through the exposures, so I'm using the shutter speed in which to sort of change up the bracket. Why I'm doing this is because I want a nice bright label, but I also want something that's duller and duller and duller. And so basically I'm going to shoot the label brighter than the bottle, and then I'm going to come back down and shoot the bottle in its state like this, and pair the two up in Photoshop. Honestly, I don't have a ton of time right now. I kind of have to get these up on the website quickly, so that's kind of why I'm doing it this way. I'm hitting the AF drive button and I'm setting the self timer to 2 seconds. So that way I basically can find a shot, hold this down, let it go for a couple seconds, and then it'll take a picture where it's meant to be in focus without my hand sort of moving. If I were just to squeeze the trigger here, I could basically nudge this a little bit, and I wouldn't want to nudge it right at the point when I'm shooting. This isn't exactly the fastest shutter speed, so I do want to have it be motionless when it goes off, and that's why I'm using the 2-second shutter release. So let's line this guy up. Are we looking? Actually, it looks pretty good. Alright, so let's see how we are in focus first. I'm going to zoom in twice, and I'm going to use my joystick to get on the front for me, and then I'm going to reach around and focus. I am shooting at f4, so it's not going to be super critical. But the number one thing to get in focus is the client's name. So that means getting, when you're doing wine photography, getting nice clean labels. For white wine, you don't want the labels on the back. If your client's a winery, then they probably can ship you that. So I'm shooting in live mode so I can see what I'm doing without having to break my back to bend over there. And I'm just shooting auto timer on 2 seconds, and I'm bracketing 2 pops at a time. Nice and dark and moody there. I might do some experimentation after I get the shots that I want to try a couple different you know, extreme bits of lighting, like with a backlight or whatever. But that's looking good. I think I'm liking this. Alright, I'm going to hit my softbox for 3 pops, 3 little switcheroos there, and we're nice and dark. So I'm actually going to darken it down a little bit more because that second light really added quite a bit of light to that. So I've got one more white, the Saval Blanc, and I'm starting that out nice and toasty on a 2 light. Okay, you probably get the point.